Welcome to another episode of Break Away from the Rat Race. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Bob Lachance. Is a nationally recognized, Lachance is kind of like a French name, so I just have to pronounce it like that. I'm sure Bob pronounced it differently, but so Bob Lachance is a nationally recognized speaker, mentor, and trainer who specializes in helping customers build their business through automation and outsourcing. Bob currently owns 4 businesses and helped start one of the nation's largest real estate coaching programs. Bob is also here today to talk about how virtual assistants can help you close more deals. And we'll talk about how he uses virtual assistants in his own real estate business, which allowed him to do over 150 deals last year and projects over 200 projects this year. So Bob, welcome to the show.
I appreciate for having me. Thank you very much.
See, I'm from Montreal, so I'm French. So when you see Bob Lachance, that's just like, okay, Lachance, definitely.
That's right. Well, it's funny. My oldest brother actually moved from there. We were talking about it, and my middle brother played for the Canadians for a number of years as well. So, yep.
Wow.
Yep. So, a lot in common.
Well, it's hard to be in Quebec without playing hockey, must say.
That's exactly right. I agree.
So, Bob, tell us more about kind of like what you've done. So you're obviously a business owner, and virtual assistants you didn't start there. You just realized, right, I guess, that the importance of virtual assistants, and now you're helping other kind of automate and outsource some of their work so that they can grow their business. But tell us about kind of like what you've done in terms of businesses, in terms of real estate investing, and your own the 150 projects that you've done.
Yeah, for sure. It all started in 2004, but prior to 2004, when I jumped into real estate investing, I played professional hockey for 8 years, 4 years here in the US and 4 years in Europe. And when I was making that transition to real estate, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I know a lot of people that listen to your podcast maybe are in the same position, saying, hey, you know what? I really love real estate, but I don't know how to make the transition. Yeah. So with me, I was retiring from another industry, and I had no choice but to jump into something that, I had passion for. I know a lot of people love real estate, and there's so many different ways to make money in real estate, whether you're buying turnkey or you're flipping properties or whatever that is, wholesaling, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of ways to make money. So I decided after, reading some books that I was a real estate investor, because, hey, you know what? Why not? If you label yourself as a real estate investor, guess what? Might as well jump behind it, just like I did as when I was a hockey player. So I was a hockey player before, now I was a real estate investor. So jumped in. I did a rehab right off the rip back in 2004. Did a pretty good job, made 32 grand, but I had 0 systems, nothing. So met a couple individuals within my local group, which is Connecticut Real Estate Association here. And I live in Connecticut. And so I saw a speaker as well speak about short sales. And again, I had no idea what any of these terms were, right? Because at this time, I was going to get educated on anything. There was no podcast back then. There was nothing, right? So I decided then to introduce myself to everybody in the group. And I asked, hey, who's the best in Connecticut that does short sales? And they all pointed at this one individual, Pat Precourt. So I went up to Pat. I'm like, Pat, you have no idea who I am. I'm not asking for a job. I'm not asking for anything, but I'm looking to join somebody's team because I'm green and I'm willing to learn from ground up. He's like, perfect. I'm looking for a door knocker. So I'm like, all right, door knocker. That means going door to door to door to door. I was knocking on people that were losing their houses from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Thing I hate the most is door knock.
Awful, but it was the best thing I ever did. Yeah. You're learning from ground up. You're learning how to overcome adversity, people closing the door in your face, rejection, the whole 9 yards. It's not the easiest thing to do. Nowadays, you don't have to do that because we're in a different world. There's a lot of stuff that virtual assistants can do for you rather than knock on doors, right? So it's a whole, and we'll get into that. So fast forward a couple of years, started working with a education company. This is back in 2006, where Pat and I were running the back end of the short sale world. Like, we're running the back end of the coaching program. Then we got introduced by, to good buddies of ours. This is in Connecticut before they moved out to California, started a company called Fortune Builders. And Pat and I were partnered.
Yeah, Than Merrill and
Dan, Conrad, JD,
Yeah.
Paul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pat and I were running the back end of the coaching program. So they came to us and said, "Hey, Bob, you got Bob and Pat, you guys are already running a coaching program. Can you assist by helping to build up the back end?" I'm like, "Absolutely. Great
Yeah.
dudes and they're really good guys." So that morphed into the company that it was for a long, long, long time. And, through the years, while I was investing, while we were running the coaching program, I noticed there was a huge need in the industry. And that was a lot of our students were either working part-time or full-time, didn't really have time to implement the program that we were giving them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a common, I mean, you see that's a common theme with
That's
individuals that want to jump into real estate investing, they just don't have enough time. So I was always looking for a service and a product years. This is from 2007. Then 2013, I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was because it was really common in the agent space, not in the investor space, but more in the agent space. So I'm like, a light bulb went on. I'm like, you know what? This could be a business. So I ended up starting my first company 2014. And fast forward today, I have around 1,000 virtual assistants. On the real estate investment side and also on the medical side. And for me personally, I use my virtual assistants in my real estate company. Like you said before, we did over 150 transactions. We're set to do over 200 this year. So that's kind of long and short of me today.
Yeah. I mean, this is great. For me, like that whole virtual assistant world came to mind when with the 4-hour work week with Tim Ferriss, when the book Tim Ferriss, and it's just like, oh my God, yeah, this is such a great idea. I mean, all these stupid tasks that that get very repetitive and very like data entry and that kind of stuff, and it's just like I don't want to do this. Like, this is not, I shouldn't be focused on that. I should be focused on something more important that only I can do for now. So so I mean, I think it's just that changed my mind actually when I read that book. I said I can get a lot more done as a virtual assistant, and I can also get more done in things that are important instead of spending hours and hours doing data entry or whatever. So that was a big turning point for me, and I use a lot of virtual assistants for all kinds of different things. So for video,
and you look at
thumbnails, for the videos, for the even like a bookkeeper. I have a bookkeeper that has been my virtual assistant for like 2 years now, 3 years. So phenomenal guy, and and I have someone that does the social media posting and all that kind of stuff. So that's very important. I find also very interesting that the idea of time, right? I mean, so for me, like I'm big about financial freedom. I talk a lot about financial freedom, but it's really about time freedom. That's the first step. And it's really about buying your time. And it's very hard to invest and do that kind of stuff when you're time bound. You have so much work so much time spent at work, and then you want to spend some time with friends and family. And then where are you going to do your business? Where are you going to do your real estate investing? So that's where the virtual assistants come into play. So tell us about kind of like what's the best way to work with a virtual assistant? So I know what you have is like you have trained virtual assistants, so for specific tasks. So maybe you can give us an example of kind of like what they're trained for, the virtual assistants you currently have. And then kind of how was the best way to kind of engage with a virtual assistant?
Yeah, that's a great question. And just to give just to add to that, give a little background on that. So all my virtual assistants are in the Philippines. So on the real estate investing, I said we have 2 different kinds of companies set up. One is on the real estate, obviously, side, all real estate professionals, whether it's turnkey providers, whether it's property managers, investors, agents, brokers, marketing companies, etc. So I kind of put that all under the real estate property managers as well. And the other side is the medical side. So we'll just stick to the real estate side right now. The reason why we started this at the beginning is when I first started at it, I'm sure you felt the same pain. When you first start working with a virtual assistant world, is the pain that I felt is I had to go sift through hundreds, if not hundreds, of applications.
Yeah.
And then I had to get on interviews, and then I'd interview, 20 of them to pick one. And then all of a sudden that virtual assistant left. I'm like, oh, I just wasted all of this time. So
Yeah.
that was the other bubble. And the other idea is, all right, if I could create a solution that gets rid of all of that pain.
Yeah.
So when I started my company in the Philippines, I have a sourcing and a recruiting team. So that's one of my departments. And then after that, I have a training team, and then a placements team that actually works with the virtual assistants that come out of training and the clients that come on that raise their hand and say, Bob, I want a trained virtual assistant. So that's like a match.com. They place them, then they go to our operations team.
Okay.
And our operations team is another level of management.
Yeah.
So you also get a virtual assistant and a manager on top of that. So to answer your question that you asked, that, all right, how do I best work with them? The beauty is you actually get the manager as well. And you say, hey, Bob, you know what? Let's say I'm working with a manager, and you say, all right, I want my virtual assistant to do cold calling. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to ask a couple more questions. Hey, what are you seeing in the industry that, the best list to use to actually cold call on? So we have, our managers also get to see all of this with our clients. So there's a whole level that we can also help on as well.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So
this is pretty important too, especially when you're dealing with one virtual assistant. It's not so bad when you do like lead gen with virtual assistants, lead generation. So you may have like 5 or 10 of these virtual assistants, and now you have to manage all of them and all the questions that are coming out. So that's where that's nice to have like a manager that is also a virtual assistant and that can manage all of that, works in the same time zone, and can answer all the questions that they might have. So that's a very good idea. Yeah,
we found that even when you have one virtual assistant, or our clients will have one virtual assistant, and they love that there's a kind of an intermediary or a manager on top of it, because they'll go right to their manager and say, hey, Bob, could you maybe add this type of training that you want to add? So our manager will then help train that virtual assistant on maybe a system that you just added in your business. Mm-hmm. So again, there's an extra layer as well of help. I know a lot of individuals that work with us love the fact that we have that second layer that will help them also run and manage their VA.
Yeah. So if you put ourselves in the shoes of a real estate investor, a lot of the people that are listening to this channel, this podcast, they want to achieve financial freedom, and then they want to invest in real estate. Right now, they might be interested in investing in turnkey rentals, but sometimes they don't have the capital to buy enough turnkey rentals, so they do flips. They do wholesaling, that kind of stuff. So they kind of like dip into different strategies in order to build a capital so they can build that portfolio of passive income.
Yep.
So if you put yourself in their shoes, and then this is extra plural, their shoes. What do you recommend in terms of where should they get started? Which job should they offload to a virtual assistant?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, typically what I'm seeing today is going direct to sellers, lead generation. You brought it up. I mean, 100% lead generation, because, days of finding stuff on the MLS and just, finding fix and flips in the MLS. Foreclosures may be coming back, but they're not there yet, right? In high volume. Not in my market anyway. I know some markets there are some inventory that's popping up, but not really. We have local rehabbers that come to us on our real estate side all the time, because we wholesale properties, saying, hey, we need more properties, we need more projects. So how we use our virtual assistants in our office, we do a lot of cold calling, and we do a lot of text messaging, and we do a lot of follow-up called lead manager. So what happens, is just to give everyone kind of a direct view, when I first started, I door knocked. That was direct to seller. Right now, direct to seller, it's so much easier because, we have virtual assistants cold call all day long. I started doing this. So my schedule was 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I would door knock, then I would come home and I would take that same list and I would go on like 411.com or white pages to try to find the best phone number. And then I would call till 7 o'clock. Well, you get burnt out doing that. You will get burnt out. We talked about door knocking is awful. Like I don't
Oh,
like door knocking, but it's a great way to actually understand how the business works.
yeah.
But you don't have to do that anymore because you have cold calling and text messaging. It's the same exact thing, but it's direct to seller. So it would have to be my opinion, and I see because I'm doing this in my own business. It's direct to seller, direct to seller, direct to seller, because there's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yep.
the other thing too is that it's kind of a mindset, I think, for a lot of people. Some of the people that are getting started as a real estate investor, they were working full time as an individual contributor, like just a regular employee. They had a manager telling them what to do, and then they just did it. And then you know, I'm simplifying, but now all of a sudden they're the CEO of a one-man show maybe at the beginning, but they're the CEO nonetheless, and they have to direct their own ship. They have to decide what to do. And now they're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to do lead generation, and I'm going to get a virtual assistant. So I can go on there are some websites out there that do that, that specialize in that. You can go and look for the virtual assistant. I know yours are trained, but if we look at looking at a virtual assistant in one of those websites, how do I offload the work then to that virtual assistant? What's the best way to say, well, you're going to do cold calling. I'm going to give you a list of phone numbers and names to call. What's the script? What's the there's a lot of details around kind of like how to set that virtual assistant for success.
That's a great question.
You do that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's like you said, there's a lot of different processing systems. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could get you really nervous, right, in that world. That's why I recommend, my company REVA Global is a company that'll help you with that. So, for instance, the stuff I use in my business, I do in my business, is also trained. We train our virtual assistants on it. So if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, Bob, I'm looking to do cold calling," I say, "All right, perfect. All right, where do I find the actual names or the records to pull?" Okay, I'll use a site called either RealFlow or PropStream.
Yeah,
you could pull down those phone numbers. You could pull down those records, and you could also get them skip traced to get the best phone number. So that would be one system that you need to set up. Then you'd have to upload all of that data into a dialer so your virtual assistant can call. And we would help you with each step. So the most common dialers that we use, that our clients use, and the results, etc. So that's the system. It's getting the list, getting them skip traced, uploading them in a dialer, and then having your virtual assistant call using the scripts again that we use. If you want to use your own scripts, definitely change those scripts and give them the VA, where our manager could help train them on your script alone.
Yeah. So you basically have you have two choices. You can say, okay, I don't know about REVA Group, and I'm just gonna do it by myself, and I'm gonna hire this person in the Philippines. And then you have to think about all that. You have to think about, okay, well, I'm gonna give them a list. Where am I gonna get the list? And then what's gonna happen? They're gonna call. They're gonna track the phone calls, the outcome of the call, and blah blah blah. Now, working with REVA Group and your company, you're going to handle all of that. You're going to ask some question, I'm assuming, and say, this is which market, what kind of people are you looking for? You're going to build a list, do the skip tracing, and then hire enough virtual assistant to do the calls, and then you already know what the process should be. So that's a lot more hands off working with your group, because you already know what needs to happen. You don't have to explain every step of the way.
Yeah, and I always say this, and I'm very transparent because I've been in this business for a long time. I say, you could do all of this yourself, and I'm okay with saying, with educating someone how to do it. I know the pain that I went through when I did it myself, so I'm okay with going over the benefits of each one. I'm very transparent when it comes to that. Again, being in this business for a long time. You kind of get hardened, and it's easier to be, all right, here's exactly how you could do it yourself, which is 100% fine, or you could do it by a turnkey company. Just like, let's look at your company, turnkey provider, right? So people could go out, I could go on my own, my own town and start buying and holding myself. But the benefit of working with you is I don't have to deal with any of that crap. You know what I mean? You're going to find the property for me, you're going to manage it, and I'm just, get a check every week.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that's definitely a shortcut. You don't have to worry about all of that. You just go to your group. You want lead generation, and then they're gonna do. Your guys are gonna do it. Your company is gonna handle all of that and provide the leads. What are some of the other processes that you have, like trained virtual assistants that are ready to go, and they can help some of our entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, we have a lot of tasks. I mean, if you're talking about different niches, like for property management, we teach them how to, do leasing, lease renewals, mainline. We have someone complaining about a toilet that, that call doesn't go to your cell phone. I mean, that in the turnkey world is a pain in the butt, right? When you have all these people, if you're managing, let's say, even 100 or even 50 or 200, 250, et cetera. Now you have 250 people that could potentially be calling you at one time, right?
Yeah.
If they're driving if all of them are driving to your cell phone, you're going to be going nuts, right? You're never going to want to pick up your phone. So those are great tasks, in the property management world, as an example, to outsource to virtual assistants, right? Yeah. Other stuff is, branding, posting on social media. For me, that saps my energy. I don't like doing that, but I have my virtual assistant team, consistently coming up with the content, posting every day, because that's credibility. It makes you, relevant each and every day. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but those are just a couple examples. Yeah,
social media definitely is a big thing for me also. Yeah, someone that goes in there and posts 3, 4, 5 times a day. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And I mean, your podcast, right? A lot of people don't realize we're doing this video, we're doing this podcast, but what happens after? Yeah. There's so much stuff that needs to be done, posting on social media, promoting it. So we have virtual assistants that do that too.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, my video editor is in Brazil. I have the thumbnail guy is also in Brazil. Then I have social media, and this allows me to focus on what's really important. I mean, and you can't do all the jobs. You can't be good at all the jobs. So stick to the ones that you're good at, where you make a difference, and then offload it to people that have more experience. I'm not a video editor.
Me neither.
Doing that.
Me neither.
So one of the things that we kind of I find very interesting too, that another book that kind of changed my mindset was E-Myth. I don't know if you read that book before. Yep. But it was really about kind of like, as an entrepreneur, you wear all kinds of different hats, and be conscious of the different hats that you're wearing. So when you're in lead generation, then you're wearing the lead generation hat. And when you're in sales, you're doing that. When you're doing the finance and accounting, then it's another hat. And then kind of like compartmentalize all these things. And all these hats can basically be done by a virtual assistant, right? The lead gen, the bookkeeping, I'm using, virtual assistant for all the bookkeeping.
We have a lot of bookkeepers. Yep. A lot of bookkeepers do that. Yep. So to your point on that one, that's a great way to look at it, right? Looking at the E-Myth. E-Myth was a great book. E-Myth, it breaks everything down, because you actually made a point about, if you're a solopreneur, a lot of people start by themselves, right? They'll start, and then we have to do everything from A to Z, no matter what. You start getting overwhelmed. That's a great thing, like you said, is to pull yourself out of it, that one department, whether it could be bookkeeping, like you said, accounting, bookkeeping. Great thing to outsource to a virtual assistant, or it could be all the way at the beginning. It could be the branding and the social media. It could be the lead gen, right? It could be following up with leads. So there's a lot of stuff that you could actually pull off your plate to give to a virtual assistant.
Yeah. So and then for me, the bookkeeping was the hardest one to do, and I actually had to do I create an SOP, a standard operating procedure, kind of like for all the different types of entries that I needed to do, so that they were consistent. And so when I did the reporting, everything would come out where it's supposed to come out. So that was the hardest part, and it took me about 3 or 4 virtual assistant to find the right bookkeeper. But that SOP, that standard operating procedure, at least was the main thing for training each of these virtual assistants. And then when I found the right one, then it's just like, okay, well, yeah, he knows how that works, and I stuck with
Yeah.
him. You know.
It's funny. That's a great way to put it. And a lot of people, when I first heard standard operating procedure, everyone's like, "Oh, well, what is that? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?"
Yeah.
And the best way I explain it is that a lot of us, sometimes have a tough time putting it in writing. But the best thing to do, like you said, is record a video. So if you
Yeah.
want your accounting or bookkeeping done a certain way, it's
Yeah.
a 10-minute video will literally take a full-time job off of your plate and give it
Yeah.
to somebody else. That's
Yeah.
all it'll take.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do now.
Yeah.
So I do a Loom videos,
Yeah.
super easy, and I don't even do like 10 minutes. I just say, hey, some now, of course, the processes are more established now. But if I catch myself doing things that are very repetitive, or somebody else can do it, then I just record a quick Loom video and I say, okay, well, this is the process for paying out a joint venture investor. Boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
boom. And then, save that, title it, pay out JV investor. And I put it, I have like a folder on Google Drive, and then,
Yep.
and I let them know that it's there. But that's, that now it's much easier, because then, I literally just do these videos, 5-10 minutes total, to pass the process and explain what the process is, and then they take it over. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and every business, think about this. It's our businesses evolve, right? That could be something that, maybe at the beginning that wasn't a task you wanted your VA to do, but all of a sudden now your business evolved. You started growing. Now those tasks will change. So you're always adding on new tasks. So a great way, to your point, is do that Loom video and then now send it over to them. And now those are the expectations that you want them to do every day. So that's a great point.
Yeah. So what are some of the tasks that you think should be outsourced a little bit more, that you think that entrepreneurs are not they're not leveraging enough, or something that are kind of forgotten?
You know what? It's so right now, I'll just use today's economy, right? So now interest rates go up. There's more. There's individuals either leaving or there's more competition. You'll see kind of both in different markets.
Yeah.
So a lot of it right now is direct to seller. And what I see, because I'm part of a lot of masterminds, we're a lot of masterminds all over the country. So we get to see and hang out with a lot of these top investors on the real estate side as well, and many of them that use our virtual assistants. So we get to see what they actually outsource. And a lot of them are using our virtual assistants right now for direct to seller lead gen, whether it is cold calling, whether it is text messaging. And on the property management and accounting side, it's pretty interesting. Those are a lot of big things that they want off of their plate, because, when we look at ourselves right now, if we're a solopreneur, you have to look at what are income producing tasks and what are non-income producing tasks, right? Non-income producing tasks are, if I'm going to sit there and cold call all day long, what you're doing is you're going after maybe a cold lead.
Yeah.
Why would we be doing that? We should be actually once those leads are warm, we should be turning those into money. Yes. So what we do is we have, like I said, we have our cold callers call. And then once somebody raises their hand and says, you know what? Yes, I'd be willing to entertain an offer. That lead goes over to our sales team, which may be you or me, right? If you're a solopreneur, that lead should go to you, because you know how you're going to make money off that deal. Yeah. If it's a buy and hold, if it's a rehab, that is very important. That's how you should be spending your time. You should also be spending your time on raising money or whatever tasks those are going to be. It's not text messaging or cold calling. That's just a waste of your time, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. What are some crazy requests you got for virtual assistants?
TikTok, doing TikTok videos, right? Because obviously TikTok is big. Those are some of probably, now, because social media is huge, right? It's a lot of cutting up videos, like you said. Social media, it's a lot of the branding side too, because we all need to be out there. Guess what? If we have 10 turnkey providers, right, you want to be up at the top. You want them to call you first. Same thing with whether you're an agent, a broker, an investor. It's all the same concepts. You got to be in their face. You got to be out there. And I watch a lot of videos now on Instagram on the business side that keep going. And you know what? The people that top up, that always go to the top, you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
All right. I'm more and more interested in these guys, and which makes it you're probably going to start buying from them too, whether it's a small product and all of a sudden now you start buying another product. That's typically how that goes.
Yeah, I think social media is very important. I think it really it establishes kind of like a level of credibility and trust.
Yep.
Believe it or not, even though it's kind of like video, I mean, you get trust from being on social media, and how you treat people and how you respond to their comments and all that kind of stuff. And then it's kind of interesting when so on my Instagram and my TikTok and all of that, they can book like a 15-minute call with me to talk about anything.
Yep.
And then so I had one today about a guy in Canada, actually in Toronto, in Hamilton. So yeah, and then so it's kind of interesting, but they already know me. They're already familiar. They don't know me, but they're already familiar about kind of like what I'm thinking, what I'm doing.
Feel comfortable with you,
yeah. So it's the conversation is much better at that point, and so that's pretty good. So you're not getting like a cold. It's not like a cold call that you're getting. It's like it's already a warm lead, I would say.
Right.
So definitely, if people are not on social media, I think this is definitely something to consider. And again, this is another hat that you're going to have to wear, and that you're going to want to offload. There's a lot of different things that need to be offloaded there. Focus on the recording and the scripting and all of that, but then offload everything into a professional, someone that's an editor, someone that's going to post it, and someone that's going to manage all of that. There's a lot to manage with all the different channels. For sure. Yeah. All right, Bob. So what if people want to reach out to you? They want to, they say, well, this is great. I definitely need someone to do lead gen, for whatever things that I want to do, like self-storage for. Can you do that for everything like self-storage, if they want to do it for land or anything like that?
We have a lot of clients that are in land, buying and selling land, self-storage investors, apartment complexes, everything from residential to bigger buildings. So we have clients that run that gamut on that side of it. Anything as a real estate professional. So I mean, same thing with you. We have strategy sessions. You could go to our website and set up a strategy session with our team and say, hey, I know I need help. What's the best thing I could do? Yeah, so we could do that too.
And the best way for them to reach out to you is on the website, on your website?
Yeah, you can check our website, which is REVAGlobal.com, REVAGlobal.com. We're also, like we were talking about, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. It's REVA Global, so REVA Global. So yeah, check us out.
Okay, well, sounds good. Well, thank you, Bob. And so that's very good. Anything else you wanna say before we wrap up?
No, I just want to thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. I know you're really busy, and I know everyone. It's I think it's very important for everybody to listen to a bunch of different podcasts to figure out what you want to do in real estate, because there's so many different things we can do. But I do like what you're doing, because we have I'm like you. We have a lot of investors that actually flip properties, whether they're rehabbers, wholesalers, and they take that money and buy turnkey assets. Because I mean, I know I literally just sold all of them. We had 20. We started to build up our doors here in Connecticut. And we were up to, I think we're up to 29. I'm like, it's a headache. I'm like, I'm out. So, and the market was high. So we sold everything. And now me and my business partner on the real estate side are like, you know what, let's start doing turnkey, because I'm out. I'm not managing anything. You're getting headache calls. It's, just awful. So,
well, you can build your portfolio a lot faster if you have the capital. 100%. You can build your portfolio a lot faster. I mean,
it's easier. You don't deal with the headache.
6 weeks,
Agreed. So anyway, that's to your point. I mean, we have a lot of clients that actually use our virtual assistants that use the money from those flips to dump into turnkey. So I highly recommend it.
Well, send them my way.
I will.
All right. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. This is great. I also have so I have another business also called Flip System, where I think a lot of our students might be interested in your virtual assistant service. So I'll mention that to them as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for listening to Break Away from the Rat Race with your host, Eric Martel. If you want to share your story and experience with our listeners, please message us on Facebook at Break Away from the Rat Race. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast on iTunes.